Alfie is a WOR race winner.
Jensen makes it 5 in a row.
Danny Berejnay wins on debut.
Shinaka returns to winning ways in WOR.
Season 12 sees a new man. It's Shadow. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jensen is the new king of PlayStation.
From the back row of the grid, against all odds, Nicholas Longy wins the title.
Goes past the safety car.
What has gone on here?
Berman spins, stunning move from the Spaniard.
He's taken out Rambo. Here comes Longy.
We're going 4 wide down to turn 1.
Oh, he's taking him out.
The captain run was complete.
Sonic to the inside.
Shadow wins to Brazil. Absolutely sensational.
Welcome, ladies. Oh God, my camera's dead. That's a great start. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to WOR Tier 2, or AKA now the Tier 1. Seems we don't have Tier 1 anymore. Hopefully, my camera does return. Welcome to the British Grand Prix as we do salute our fallen sovereign. We are gathered and joined by Badgerman. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. My camera is at least working still, so yeah.
It was working a second ago.
While you fix that, yes, it is the British Grand Prix today, and I said this last time, I'll say it again. This is a circuit that always produces amazing racing on the F1 games. I expect nothing short of an instant classic here tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I'm expecting a lot of action. Of course, as we've seen in a lot of the other racing, or the other races we've had, it's very strategical when we're going to see the action. We're going to see it bits at the start, a little bit in the middle, and then a little bit at the end. So we're still going to see those elements in play. But I would like to see, because this is the British Grand Prix, and just because of the layout of the track, see a bit more overtaking. Talking of overtakes, what opportunities do we have, Badger?
Oh, we have quite a few. I mean, this is a very high-speed circuit. Lots of fast corners as well, but very high speed for sure. You can potentially try it into Village, into Turn 3, although that is not generally advised because right there is the DRS protection point. So if you're ahead there, well, you're probably going to get re-overtaking on the next best opportunity, which is the Wellington Straight after Turn 5 and into Brooklands, which really makes a wonderful continuous opportunity because you're going through Brooklands, but then it comes around the other way through Luffield, and you can maybe pull the overtake off there. If you hang it around the outside of Brooklands, you then get a lot of inside for Luffield. And then finally, of course, Stowe, down the Hanger Straight. That's where the cars tend to be the fastest on the circuit. However, you're going to have to contend with the ability to follow in dirty air, because Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel are very high-speed corners. Lots of downforce needed, lots of air that is being put through some turbulence by the car in front. So, gonna be tricky, but with these cars more than any before, it should be fine, and overtakes down the Hanger Straight into Stowe should be a bit easier. And then finally, if all else fails, you can always try it in Vale, but we've seen in real F1 how that can end up. I'm just going to mention the name Sebastian Vettel. I don't like doing that. I'm a fan of his, but I'll just mention that name, and we can swiftly move on.
Absolutely, and talking swiftly moving on, I'm going to go to the other end of the track. I don't know if I can't remember if you mentioned Cops. Again, if you get a good exit through Luffield, you've made your attack through Brooklands, Luffield, and then you follow it through Woodcote down towards Cops. It's risky. It's one of those which I think if we see one happen, we're going to scream and go ballistics. But again, another risky area you could possibly see overtaking, but very rare, is actually through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, where you go side by side, leaving nothing for any of the other drivers. And then finally, I think you mentioned about Village lunging one into there, but the risk of the DRS. So those are the riskier areas. But now let's talk track limits, because if you're new to the F1 scene, you're new to F1 esports, track limits is a massive part. You know, the F1 now states that all of the white line is the limit of the track. In F1 esports has always been the white line, and this track has quite a few invalidation zones. Badger, I think probably the obvious one is probably for me is gonna be the exit of turn 5.
Okay, that's not the obvious one to
Really?
me. I gotta say that. So, yeah, no, the obvious one is the exit of Stowe. That's where everyone runs wide. Everyone wants to carry as much speed as they can through that corner, potentially make the overtake stick. And yeah, Stowe is the one where I think a lot can happen. Cops is another one. Exit of Cops, especially early on in the race. Later on in the race, when the fuel in the car is down, the car overall is lighter. Even if the grip is down a little bit, you're still going to be fine going through Cops. But early on in the race, it's tricky because you want to go flat out, but the car doesn't really allow for it. The fuel, the weight of the fuel just carries the car a bit too far outside. So you have to slightly lift early on in the race. In qualifying, it won't be an issue. But in the race early on, so for the first half of the race before the pit stops, I think Cops will be interesting as well. Maggots, Beckett's Chapel. I think some drivers really like cutting the corners there, cutting the inside more than it is about extending on the outside, as it is with Cops and Stowe. Maggots and Beckett's in particular, Chapel obviously not so much. And yeah, let me think which other corner. Yeah, exit turn 5 is one of them, and then turn 1, surprisingly, Abbey.
Yeah.
Inside of Abbey. Because you want to hold yourself to the inside as far as possible. It is a flat-out corner, but on cold tires, as we're going to have the drivers start the race, I actually predict complete and utter calamity going on lap 1, turn 1. Because, yeah, on cold tires, this is one of the deadliest corners on the whole calendar.
Oh, absolutely, and I've been caught out personally, God knows how many times, at the start of the race, just spinning out. But, of course, talking of cold tyres, we also get the luxury, of course, in this game, of free choice, as much as we've seen in this, in real-world F1, free choice of tyres going into the race, so strategy will play a massive game. I think we'll discuss about after qualifying, we'll definitely get there, but as you can hear the timer in the background, we're getting going, so we are heading into the race, and this circuit is fabulous. This is 18 turns on a 3.6 mile circuit, packed full of fast-paced corners and entertainment for all, with 2 DRS zones, one on the Hangar Straight and one on the Wellington Straight.
Yeah, the DRS zone that used to exist on the Hamilton Straight is no more. It was a bit risky. We saw, I think, who was it? Was it Marcus Ericsson who crashed there? Was it Magnus? It was one of the sons, I'm pretty sure.
I got a feeling it's Marcus Ericsson. I don't know. It just something rings a bell saying it's Marcus Ericsson.
Yeah, who crashed because he was allowed to leave the DRS open. Remember, the DRS, at least in real life, in the game it's slightly different, but in real life the DRS only closes if you brake. Otherwise it will be stuck open forever. If you never brake, then your DRS is always going to be open, but at what track can you do that? There isn't one. But regardless, he had the rear wing open going through Abbey, and the downforce just wasn't there, and he spun. So, yeah, that's why they removed the DRS zone down the Hamilton Straight. And so we are currently stuck with 2. I say stuck with 2. There's still 2 very good zones, it needs to be said.
Absolutely. So we're already nearly a minute in. The first driver will be coming out will be a Red Bull, and that is going to be of Harvey Cohen. Is going to be the first driver to pull his car out of the garage unless someone jumps ahead. There is actually somebody. Is it Mark? It is. It is Mark. Did we work out? Is Mark German by any chance?
His name certainly looks very German, so I wouldn't be surprised. Certainly from a German-speaking country, so I guess Germany is the best bet, but not, necessarily the only option. But actually, considering I'm just sort of looking through his, I guess his socials a little bit, and he seems German.
We'd like to think so.
It doesn't say in our data here, in our spreadsheets and all. It doesn't say that whether he is or not, which is very unfortunate.
Well, we like to welcome Mark.
Actually, you know what? We can just check in game. I just forgot the race director, of course. Yes, he is German. There you go. That sorts it.
There you go, sort out. Well, welcome Mark to Tier 2. He's joined, I think he came from Tier 3 if I'm not mistaken. Been performing very well in Tier 3, and just to fill the numbers as we've been having terrible attendance, we've decided to bring some Tier 3 drivers in. 18 drivers today, to point out. Mark being one of them, and it's good to see this numbers again. The numbers back up to give us some form of entertainment.
Yeah, it was, quite frankly, a bit shambolic what we saw earlier in the season. So 18's a good grid. You always have a couple of drivers who maybe cannot make it. 18 is perfectly fine. Once you get below 15, I think that's when the problems start to arise. But 18 is okay. We have a yellow flag that's just for someone going slowly, and it's gone again, and it's back again, and it will be gone again in a moment. That will be for Boelem Farah, who is just preparing his first lap. But he just started it, and so let's actually go and look at Mark a little bit more. Heading here now down the Wellington Straight, DRS open, reaches right around 327 kilometers an hour. That's not the fastest the cars will go, but it's quite fast, I have to say. We will see a little bit more down the Hanger Straight because you have more speed coming into that straight than you have going into the Wellington Straight, so a little bit more there. Through Copse, whoa, cutting it thin there on the curb and on the white line, but it just worked out. Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel, and then we're going to see the speed trap. I will at least see it. Yeah, he gets onto the straight with 250 kilometers an hour, so definitely a slight speed advantage here. And the speed trap clocks in at 332. So that's the maximum speed we can expect around this circuit here today. Vale and Club left to go at the first time of the session will be a 1 minute, I can safely say that, 26.6. And I think that's a pretty good lap. It's, there you go. It just got beaten by our last race winner, Drake Dempsey, but only by 200ths of a second. So the 26.6 is certainly very, very good indeed.
It's going to look strong as Harvey Cohen, again a contender within this championship, can't get close enough. JST is 2 tenths off that time, so he's not close enough. And I think a driver we'll want to watch is not here.
Lefted is in the gravel.
Oh dear.
Lefted is in the gravel on the exit of Chapel. Must have spun to the right through. He's back on track now, but look at what he's carrying onto the track there. You saw those lines of gravel there. A little bit of dirt on the circuit now on the racing line. And he will stay out, surprisingly. And at least clock this lap in. But yeah, massive mistake there from the Aston Martin driver. And it's a 1 minute 37 flat.
Thomas Harvey.
Wow.
Wow. Thomas Harvey definitely
Where did that come from?
Showing that he's definitely here for game as he puts in a 1:26.2. Alex Bulger puts himself only 6th fastest. Now, who has not set a lap? Our lovely streamer, Tom Martinez, or Tom97 as we know him all too well. did fairly well in Australia, actually. Was in a great position, but strategy let him down at the end of the race. Puts himself 5th fastest, 4/10 off the time, but from 1st to 2nd at the moment, 3/10. I think that people are not pushing just yet.
Yeah, the gap between Thomas Harvey and Drake Dempsey is bigger than the gap between Drake Dempsey and P9 JST. That tells you a lot right now. As there's a yellow flag. I think that's for Tom 97 going a bit slowly, but nothing out of the ordinary. Sometimes yellow flags pop up and it's just nothing. And I think Lefted may have just ended up in the gravel again. No, he's just going slowly. Okay, never mind. It was the same spot, that's why I was a bit worried. But no, he's just letting other cars by, which is the right thing to do. Daniel Kjeltz, meanwhile, aborted his lap. So we're looking at Taz right now, who just started his. And he's heading now through Aintree and down the Wellington Straight. First sector split. 27.4. They're all clocking in right around there. 27.3, 27.4 tends to be the best first sector time that we're going to see here.
Bit
Middle
wide.
sector's where it's at, though.
Yeah, wide through Luffield. Definitely did not keep close to the corner.
No, that's normal. That's actually very normal because you have such a long acceleration zone after that you want to carry more speed on exit, and so you want to sort of open up the corner halfway through because it's such a long right-hander. So you're going a bit wide halfway into the corner. Oh, that's through the grass, and that's
Talking of wide,
no, not invalidation because he was slower, but the lap is definitely dead. But yeah, so you want to cut back in for the second half of the corner to then get yourself a really good run out of it. So. It's not necessarily the worst to run a little bit wide there, as long as you do it early in the corner.
Makes sense, makes sense. And there you go, Jonah Martins also demonstrating exactly what you're saying. 120, it was 23.7, I think. I can't remember the time, but a decent sector, first sector to put a purple in. Through Cops you go. Now, for people who don't know, you actually, with these cars now, have to slightly lift and downshift to get through that corner. But seems like Jonah is going to take this with good speed and good intention as he dips a wheel into the grass, which is, again, not a surprising move to do. May lose you a 10th-ish into Stowe.
No, not even.
Not even. It's so little. As
Oh, that's a massive slide there. Yeah, he immediately aborts the lap. But, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I mean...
Tokyo Drift right there. That was literally
Yeah.
That's entertaining for sure.
Racing drivers tend to call this sort of moment a Code Brown moment. If you understand where you find the color brown in nature, you sort of understand where that nickname is coming from. If you don't, we are not going to explain it. Because that would not be appropriate, I think.
Yeah, you gotta have at least a. It's such a obvious term. It's such an obvious term.
Yeah.
Though, tell you what, JST knocking off a 10th off the first sector. So right now he's looking to put himself into P7, jumping 2 positions early in this qualifying.
Yeah, knocking off a 10th is good. We have Mark Schluter knocking off a couple of hundreds, but he already... Oh, he's invalidated. Never mind. There you go. That sorts that out.
Problem solved.
Lots of drivers out on another run. Yeah, problem solved, basically, yeah.
As JST, just to let you know, is gone now 2 tenths faster, so that's jumping him up into now. That would put him round about into 3rd position, or maybe 4th, sorry.
Yeah, 4th right now.
So he's doing a good lap for a good run. He just needs to push a little bit more to be alongside Thomas Harvey, who's put out a lap, and we're still working out how he's done that lap, but clearly he has. He puts himself 2nd fastest, JST, with a beautiful time, but still 3 tenths behind the leader, who is on another lap, not improved his first sector though.
Yeah, I'm checking the sector times right now for Thomas Harvey, and it's really in the 2nd and 3rd sectors where he's gaining a lot. Middle sector, Sorry, first sector. He didn't gain that much overall, a little bit, but he just seems overall faster. A 27.206 in the first sector is severely impressive. I've seen Drake Dempsey do a 27.2, but and Alex Bolger right now is looking very, very strong. He is going through the middle sector as we speak, 2/10 up. That could be P3 as things stand. If he has a good final sector, it could even be P2 for Alex right here. Yeah, safe through Stowe. Little bit of a wiggle there. You don't want to see that, but it doesn't cost you too much either. Jeffrey Ritchie goes P3. I think he won't keep that for long. Yeah, Alex Volga goes P2. There you go. They're edging their way closer and closer and closer to Thomas Harvey, but that lap from Harvey, it was a brilliant one. Fritzen coming across the line, and he improves, but no position gained for the Aston Martin driver. Tom Martinez goes P7, slight improvement there for the Englishman who's living in Spain. Taz has invalidated, then we have, I think Drake Dempsey or Harlan Marquis just entered the pits, one of them. They're all entering the pits now. Who is on a fly?
I think Lefted is on a lap. He's really pushing as he goes past the Alfa Romeo, but he just invalidated on the entrance of Maggots, a common area which we mentioned before.
Marcus Towler is running pretty well right now, and he's heading into the Vale and Club. This might be a pretty good lap. 24-25, the clock is running, and it's P2. It was, in fact, a very good lap.
Little bit of a squirm on the final corner of Club, and I think if he hadn't squirmed too much, it wouldn't be too bad, but Jonah Martins again now steals P2. So Thomas Harvey, who has done a second lap, by the way, he's done a second run, but he didn't get the lap times he was looking for. So he's only done one proper timed lap. So as Thomas right now, would you start to get scared seeing the competition slowly creep towards his lap time?
Well, scared not, because even if you're getting beaten here, this is only qualifying, and Thomas Harvey has already done a really good job. Obviously, you want to be in first place, but then the question becomes, do you really want to be in first place, or would you prefer maybe second? So, you know, to be able to just sit behind and wait it out and play the long game, play it strategically. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how the drivers approach the race, but no, I wouldn't be scared. I'd be thinking, you know what? Yeah, they're getting closer. Maybe they'll get me, but, you know, maybe I'll get another lap in too. So Thomas Harvey is heading out again. Or he has actually started a lap right now. He's actually started another run. As I'm looking at Daniel Kiel. Oh, you're looking at Daniel Kielsen as well right now. Wonderful.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, there you go. And I didn't catch his first sector split. So let me just half a tenth up. 27.322. So and there goes the invalidation.
He's not been doing well. I think that's his third invalidation. So he does have one more try. He can quickly dive into the pits, put on a fresh set of boots. He has a little bit of time to readjust some settings, readjust his wing or whatever, and go for it one more time. He has that opportunity where he is on the track and the time left, but it's now or never for him. Meanwhile, Thomas Harvey, he's gone out early in the sense of this is his third run. Now, a lot of the other drivers are going to do their third and final run. Possibly they're going to come out about the 2 minutes 50 mark, you think, somewhere around there, or even a bit later, and make their final run. So Thomas Harvey.
I think right now we see a bunch of drivers come out, but the last ones I would expect at around 2 minutes and 20.
Thomas Harvey not doing his lap.
Comes back in. Yeah, because he knows he wouldn't have improved, so he aborts outright. Hopes that he can get back in and get another lap out. I mean, if he wants to make another lap, he has to get in quickly. Put a new set of tires. No, he retires. Never mind.
Oh, he is done. There you go, ladies and gents. That is today's benchmark, and 126.2 is the time to be, and that just tunnels you down just that little bit further, knowing, right, if I nail it, I can take pole now, because there's no way of fighting. Drake Dempsey is going to be the first person to attempt to steal pole. Has he put in enough pace to take the pole? The American who won last week in Australia, no, goes massively wide.
Yeah, that's not legal. And, yeah, that doesn't help him. Harlem Marquise now starting a lap. And I don't know what Drake Dempsey is doing parking there, but Boalem Farah, hello, that's a P2 right there.
Ooh.
Coming out of absolutely nowhere. That is an incredible lap, as I think Taz just went across the line. And he just started a lap. Okay, we have... Who is on a flying lap
Harlem
right
Marquise
now?
is just going around Luffield, and he just keeps those tyres within those white lines. I mentioned earlier that the game... Well, I didn't mention how sensitive this game is, but the game is very sensitive to wheels going over the line, and will punish you accordingly. So, we'll keep an eye. This is another easy area to invalidate. Harlem Marquise keeping it nice and neat through the S's, which is of Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel. It's a positive. It's looking good. This might be potential to take pole off Thomas Harvey. He needs to make it clean. Through Stowe we go, and he's keeping it within the white line, so he masters the first area where easy mistakes are made. Through Vale, can he keep it clean in club? If he can do that, he can possibly put this car on pole. Harlem Marquise does not set pole.
Yeah, I think he had a very bad final sector, so he slightly improved, but... Oh, no, wait, hold on. Oh, let me check something really quick here. Yeah, he had a very bad final sector, and he set the exact same lap time again. I've never seen that before.
Well, identical.
But this is not a mistake by the... Yeah, absolutely identical time.
Wow. Oh, that is impressive. As Marcus...
Meanwhile, Jonah Martins is not going to improve.
Alex
Yeah,
is
2 tenths
Alex
down.
is positive on his lap time, so that's not going to help him as well. He needs to find something within the second sector, and he validates. So he's not going to do anything. Is Mark on a lap?
Harvey Cohen goes P11. Left at P13. They're all coming in now. Mark Schluter. Remember Mark Schluter? He was P3 early on in the session. Look at where he is now. P12. Really fallen down. Unbelievable. But Harlem Marquise... Okay, he's heading into the pit lane. So it's the two McLarens. Bolger and Kjeldsen. Bolger has invalidated. Kjeldsen is still going.
Yes, he's got... It's his own... This is the only lap he is going to set. Is it going to be a one-lap wonder from Daniel Kelton? He puts it in, only 10th fastest, which is not where he wants to see, but it's still a lap time at the end of the day. And then Taz, who is unable to set a lap time, but Journo also not being able to set a lap time, and Modisto Mina also not setting a lap time. So 3 drivers caught out by track limits, and critically showing how difficult this track is, and the reason why we use it as a time trial for these leagues.
Yeah, it's a track that has a bit of everything. It has a lot of fast corners, which really spread the good from the great. It does have a couple of slow corners. If you think about Luffield, you think about the Loop and Village. But it has medium speed corners. It has straights. It has a bit of everything. And that makes it a very good track for time trials. And to really see who is up to the standard of the top tiers of WOR. Thomas Harvey certainly is. Pole position for the Brit at his home race. Boalem Farah will start alongside him on the front row. And then we have Jonah Martins and Marcus Tauler, the Norwegian driver, the better Norwegian driver here today compared to Daniel Kjeldsen. In P4, Alex Bolger 5, Harlan Marquis 6, Jeffrey Ritchie 7, JST 8, Drake Dempsey 9, and Kjeldsen, the aforementioned, in P10. Thus, our grid order.
A very, very mixed grid, and critically, the contenders are shaping up. Though, if you didn't know, there's only 29 points between the leader and second place, which is Jonah Roberts and Thomas as well, between them two. So critically, this is major. The fact that Jonah Robbins isn't amongst the top group, meaning he's not going to bag himself a load of big bucks here. And the weather today is looking potential to cross into rain.
Yeah, you always have to expect it in Britain. This is the typical British weather. Not really a lot of sun to be seen, but you never know. Does the rain come? Does it not come? So far, it's not there yet. But I think the drivers might be planning for some rain later on. The question is, will it arrive in time? That is yet to be seen. But remember, no formation lap again here today. Let's quickly go through the strategies. If it stays dry, it's going to be potentially soft to hard with the... or hard to soft with the pit window being around lap 19 if you start on softs. Lap 7 if you start... lap 19 if you start on hards. 7 if you start on softs. Or medium to hard.
Well, we get underway. There is 5 lights, and we're on our way. And it looks to be a good launch from the Alfa Romeo. That's going to be a brilliant start for Ferrer. And in his first race in Tier 2, he will take the lead of the British Grand Prix. Jonah Martins is going to try and lunge one down the inside and steal second place off Thomas Harvey, who put a lot of work to get himself into first place, as Marcus Thiel will try and battle with Harlan Marquis, but still Jonah Martins is going to try and take this round the outside of turn 5. He's unable to make it there. Is he going to take it round the outside of Brooklands and through the inside of Luffield? That will be the better spot if he can, and he will steal the position. But you can see Harlan Marquis really wanting to get involved with this top 3. He doesn't want to be waiting too long to get involved as they do file through. Further back, Jeffrey Ritchie critically needs to gain positions for himself as he tries to go through comps, and that is going to be an AlphaTauri of Marcus getting out of shape.
It's Marcus Towler, yeah.
Yeah, as Jeffrey is going to take it through and gains a couple of positions to P7.
Yeah, it was a very close contact there between Ritchie and Towler. And the AlphaTauri drew the short end of the stick there. Got a bit of a slide on, but he's already making his way back past Alex Bolger. Or is he? They're fighting here into the... Oh, there's a spin, Jeffrey Ritchie!
That is critical. The championship leader, Jeffrey Ritchie, spinning alongside Harvey Cohen is critical, because now Thomas Harvey, who is his championship contender, is up in third, going to bag himself a truckload of points if the race stands like this, but it will not. You can see the drivers up ahead in the lower position, battling it out, trying to gain what they can early on. Phase 1 of attack is underway.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of shuffling, which tells me they would not be battling like this if they expect... Hold up. There's water coming down. It's raining already.
Oh my god. And nobody decided to go onto the intermediate tires from the get-go. So immediately...
No, they couldn't. They couldn't. The game doesn't allow you to go onto intermediates if it's not raining.
Oh, wow. What a twist in the show. So we're going to get phase 1. And we said about pit stops, it's phase 2. So we're going to get one after the other. So this screws up the entire strategy that we were talking about, the soft to hard, soft to medium. Screw all that. If that rain, which you can see streaking down your screen, gets heavier, these guys going in, as you can see that Alpine is running very, very low and using up the skip board immediately. Harlem. Yeah, Harlem going in.
Is he the only one? No, he's not. Marcus Towler, Mark Schluter, Tom 97, A couple more cars. Let's see
Drake
them
Dempsey's-
sort itself out.
Ooh,
Modesta Mina, Daniel Kelton, and Meloni are all coming into the pits. Who's getting held up? Is anyone getting held up? It shouldn't be the case. I think the game is set to allow ghosting in the pit lane in these situations.
Should be.
Yes, it does.
I'm just going to draw your attention back to the P3. Drake Dempsey is getting impatient. He's not going to wait for too long. If he doesn't make this overtake soon, he is not going to be a happy bunny, and the American will not stand for it. But he remains patient and vigilant as he's going to look for a position down the inside of left field, but still cannot find it. He's got to be patient through Cops, which is his next overtaking area, but I don't think he's close enough for it.
Not yet, and we should soon get the message of DRS being disabled, which is why we see all the drivers basically use their battery very, very much so. A lot of drivers are down to 20-30% of battery already on lap 3. Normally you don't see that and they're trying to save it, but you regain, you reharvest so much more in the rain than you do in the dry, that it's absolutely not worth it to keep any right now as you're gaining it back easily, and they're all pitting now. The remaining drivers are all going to pit now. That means there's likely going to be some double stacks. There's likely going to be some touches here into the pit entry. And yeah, I think some drivers have done really well going early, and some drivers missed out a little bit, lefted. Oh, he's spinning! He's staying out and immediately pays the price for it, as he spins the car through Vale and again through Club. Oh no, he tried to be brave and it ended up like Lando Norris in Russia.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
don't remind me of that. Oh, that is horrible. No, taking a risk and playing the reward. It is not going well. We're going to stay with Drake Dempsey. Sorry,
he's
Harlan
slowing
Marquez.
down.
Harlan Marquez, is he going to be able to take the
lifted.
lead? That's the question I'm going to point out here. As he will not. He'll claim third. He'll claim second on to Thomas Harvey.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's so Oh, the switchback from Thomas Harvey. That is beautiful. And he gets him. Or does he? They're still side by side. Who's gonna have it into Brooklands?
It's gonna be anyone's game as it's a battle of the late breakers, but the inside line's gonna favor Harlem a lot, which will allow his teammate Drake Dempsey also to get along and alongside this battle as well. So if Thomas Harvey makes a mistake here trying to fight back, it will cost him not just the position he currently has, but critically, Drake will put himself onto the podium, but a really bad run from Harlan Marquez as he nearly, you can see Thomas really looking to try and make a move anywhere. And you also have to remember Harlan's been out on these tyres 1 lap longer, so his tyres are a little bit warmer than the likes of Harlem right now.
Well, yes, maybe, but at the same time, all tyres may be warmed up to 70 degrees Celsius. For dry tyres, it's always a bit tricky. For intermediates, that's not a problem. Their operating window goes up to 80 degrees Celsius, but they're in perfectly fine shape if they do reach 70. And in fact, I would think that Harlan Marquez's tyres are actually a little bit colder because of how much rain there is on track. I think it's actually likely that these tyres for everyone will be below 70 degrees. So maybe around 65, which is still perfectly fine operating range. But yeah, I think, you know, for all drivers, it's going to be a little cold on the tires there. The full wet tire will actually be another 10 degrees colder. So that should end up around 55 to 60. If we were to see it in this race, and looking by the amount of rain coming down, I wouldn't be surprised if we did.
Daniel Kitson, he is looking to try and make a move. This is for the battle for the final point position. He's going to have to go down the inside of Luffield, a common area of overtaking, and then stick this one out into Cops. He's going to stay side by side with Modest Mina. Modest Mina actually qualified P17. P18 originally. Did not get a good run, but will hold his position in P10. So brilliant work by Modest Mina right now.
Yeah, certainly. Great moves up the field, and we know how good of an overtaker Modesta Mina is, and he shows it right here again also has been profiting a little bit off of the scuffle between Jeffrey Ritchie and Harvick Cohen, but 9 places you don't just get from people messing up. You have to put on some overtakes to get yourself from second to last into the points within 5 laps.
Drake Dempsey is probably the next person who's probably closest to make an overtake, and that is on Thomas Harvey. He is stuck with him when Thomas Harvey came out of the pits, and critically, you want to stay close to your rival and make a Haas. Well, they technically he's in a Haas sandwich. That's JST. He ran off track and cut that corner perfectly. So JST struggling with grip, and does that start to pose a question? Is this now the rain? Is this the first of the drivers struggling with conditions? Are we going to see wet tires coming out, or is it just that he's just made a mistake by himself?
It's very hard to tell. It's certainly very hard to tell. Even a little bit of both. I think one thing that the drivers are going to do now, all of them, or at least they should, is they're going to monitor their tire temperatures very closely right now, because if that tire temperature drops to a certain point, you know it's time for the full wets. That's usually how you can tell. If that tire temperature goes below 60 degrees Celsius on these inters, then you know there's so much water on track, it cools the tire so much that the inters are no longer viable, they can no longer handle the water, and it is time for full wets. But looking at Willem Ferrar, it does look like he thinks that it's time for full wets. Neither do any of the other drivers, so I think JST's mistake there was really just that. It was a mistake. It wasn't all too much about the intermediates not being suited to the conditions just yet.
Can we talk about Ferrar? This is his first race that he has done in Tier 2. And he is owning the British Grand Prix right now. 7 laps in, I know this is quite early. He's owning it with a 2.5 second lead and being comfortable on the track. Like, I'm just watching him right now, and the way he's driving is it's easing his way through the corners. He's not overdriving the car. He's not getting squirmy or out of place. He's just taking it nice and smooth. No mistakes, no risks. That is somebody who has come in with confidence, and if this is something we're going to see from him, a confident driver who can own this leading position, what is he going to be like in future races, and what's that going to look like for the championship?
Yeah, it certainly has the chance to shake up the championship a little bit. Remember, there are still plenty of races left to come. We're talking about 9 race weekends, including today, with 2 sprint races as well. So we're talking about a potential, what would that be? 225 plus 9 fastest lap points is 234. We're talking about exactly 250 points that are potentially still to be gained. The leader in the championship right now has 77. Willem Ferrar, since he just came into the tier, he was, I think, in tier 3 before this. He's got 0, but you know, a 77-point gap doesn't mean that you're out of it. He was actually 2nd place in the tier 3 by the time that ended. So I'm not very surprised to see him that high up. I'm also not very surprised to see Mark Schluter in P6 after well, it wasn't a horrible qualifying, but it wasn't a great qualifying either. It was, I would say, slightly subpar for him, because he led the championship in Tier 3, came here, and he's been doing a pretty good job as well. And the third guy in that championship, they were by far the top 3, is Alex Bolger. Yes, he's lost a couple positions, but he's had a good qualifying. He's just gotten a bit unlucky with the race so far, but don't count him out just yet. I think we will see a bit more from him. So those 3 drivers we have to keep an eye on, both Alfa Romeos and Alex Bolger. They are the ones that we have to keep an eye on. They're working their way up from Tier 3, not just into Tier 2. No, they're taking over Tier 2.
Absolutely, and Alex Bolger demonstrating that, yeah, down in P12, not the greatest time for him. But look who's right behind him, though. critically, and there's a Ferrari. That's Jonah Martins has spun off the track. I'm going to that is pretty big to say that Jonah Martins has lost quite a lot of position as he leaves the session as well. Is that him done? Or is that an internet problem for him?
It smells like a rage quit to me. It definitely does. Like, I threw the race away. Screw this. Or potentially the other option to be, to give him the fairness that he deserves. It might just be that he has technical issues, maybe some screen freezes that caused the spin in the first place. And so he's just left understanding that, the technical problems make it borderline impossible to even drive the car. So I wouldn't put that out of the question. That is certainly a possibility as to why he has left here. But very unlucky there for Jonah Martins. And let's hope the next races go a little bit better. I mean, he has 25 points in the championship. He is a race winner so far this season, one of only 3. The others being Jeffrey Ritchie twice, and of course Drake Dempsey last week. Martins won the opener in Austria, and I don't want to call it a fall from grace just yet, but he hasn't scored in any of the last 4 races now.
That's that's gonna hit hard. Not scoring points critically is gonna knock your confidence. And I tell you, who's knocked a little bit of their confidence, Alex Bolger, as he loses position to the current rating leader at the moment of this championship. As Jeffrey Ritchie is now only 1 position away from getting a point, so he can extend his lead from 77 to 78 for the rest of the pack. But up ahead, Farah, he's actually losing time. So we said that he's running this very calm race at the moment, not pushing too hard, playing it quite chilled. I feel he's playing a bit too chilled now, or this man right here, Harlan Marquis, is pushing like no other. We can't actually tell what ERS he has unless we hop on board. It's about 30% left on that car. So he is pushing, and there you go, he's using more of it. So he's trying to close that gap to Farah for phase 2. Now, there is potential for another pit stop, if I'm not mistaken. Question.
There is potential, but I think most of these drivers are going to try to make it to the end if the conditions stay the way they are. We had most of the pit stops on lap 2 and lap 3, with Lefted on lap 4, and but he's in P20, so we're just going to disregard him for now. But that means they would have to take the tires 24 or 23 laps. Now, the intermediate tire around this circuit, according to the in-game data, that's not necessarily always perfectly accurate, because it obviously depends on driving style, ability to save the tires, etc., is 20 laps. So you'd have to stretch them. But the question then becomes, what, do you want to stretch them? Is it worth to pit again? And looking at the situation right now, and looking at the pit loss of a whopping 27.5 seconds here, I'm going to say they're going to try to take these tires to the end if the conditions don't change.
I definitely would stay out if you can, because unless you need a drastic new strategy, of which I think Farah might mount an idea, as you can see the lap time, or the time between Harlem and Farah slowly, it's dipping there, and it's finally dipped in. It's just gone under a second briefly, and critically, Harlem Marquis is definitely on the pals. He is pushing hard to try and catch up with Farah, but I tell you what, Thomas Harvey's sticking with them, and then Drake Dempsey's on the edge. He's near the back, but he's not pushing on a huge amount, but he is coming and following with that train. So we might be seeing a bit of a mayhem battle come lap 24, where we get to the final phase of this race. But if you believe, Badger, if we're not going to get another phase 2, then we have to wait until phase 3.
Yeah, right now it's all just about, getting close to other drivers, maybe hoping for the weather to dry up again, all get heavier, get more intense, that we get the full wets out on the circuit. Regardless, right now is a bit of a dull part of the race, I guess, even though we just had Jeffrey Ritchie overtake Daniel Kjeldsen into Stowe and is now barely ahead through Valen Club. So the championship leader is now in the points, or, well, really he is in the point, I should say, singular there. But, yeah, I mean, he has the championship lead safe right now. He's got a 29-point gap before this race, so even if somehow Thomas Harvey were to gain 2 places, which is not out of the question, but if he were to gain 2 places, then even if he does it with the fastest lap as well, Jeffrey Ritchie would still be the championship leader even if he DNFs, but it would drop down to 3 points at that point, and we'd have a wonderful championship battle. So I would love to see that, but regardless, Willem Farrar is regaining a bit of a gap to Harlem Marquez now. You mentioned it was under a second. We're up to 1.4 again, 1.5 again. I think this is Harlem Marquez now trying to harvest some battery, and it's just not working. He just cannot close in anymore.
Critically, because he's possibly harvesting as well, Thomas Harvey is now up the rear end of Harlem Marquez, so this might be an indication to Thomas Harvey to go, right, this car ahead of me is going a little bit slower than normal, let's get past him and then let's focus on Farrar with the intentions of what you're thinking, because how much with these drivers, you get, some of them will have race engineers. They will have somebody who's watching the stream, who has the full list here, and is probably going, yo, so for instance with Thomas, Jeffrey's down in P10, get past Harlem now, and you will be getting bigger points and will close that championship. Some drivers don't, so it'll be interesting to see what the next move is, and if Thomas will capitalize on this harvesting mode, which I think has ended because he's already back on the rear end of Farrar.
Yeah, these are the kinds of situations where having a race engineer in your ear really helps you. You might think, oh, well, do you really need that? Yeah, but for these moments you do. Understanding the situation, understanding the big picture. You're in the car, you're driving, you don't really focus on that. You're just trying to keep the car on the circuit. So having someone tell you, hey, push a little bit maybe, you know, you can gain something here. Car in front is slowing down a bit, or car in front is speeding up. Try to stay with them, stuff like that can really help you get into the right mindset and therefore get yourself into the right position as well to potentially get more points than you otherwise would have. As Harlem Marquez is now speeding up significantly, I think he may have heard us, or maybe his engineer heard us and took it as a challenge and said, hey, you need to pick up the pace, they're talking about you. I've done that before as an engineer. You know, when they talked about the driver I was engineering and said, oh, he's slowing down a bit. I told him, hey, they're talking about you. They're saying you're slowing down. Pick it up, mate. And that might be the case here. But Marcus Towle is now pitting. He's going to drop down at least to 17th, if not 18th or 19th, as he is going for... Is that full wets?
Is he actually trying it?
No, it's another set of inters.
So
he's... Oh, I understand. Oh, this is interesting. So he is betting on those intermediates not lasting for everyone. And he's like, you know what? If they can't make them last... Yellow flag? What is that? I think... Oh, Taz retiring. Never mind. That won't cause a safety car or anything. We're fine. So he's betting on everyone else's tires failing, and he can bring those intermediates to the end no problem.
That is an
It's a very risky bet.
Yeah.
It's a very risky bet, but if you're outside the top 10 anyway, which he wasn't, he was, I think, in P9, but if you're saying, well, I don't care about 2 points, you know, I just came into this tier, I don't care if I get 2 points or 0, but I definitely care if I get 2 or 25. Then, you know, this is a really good gamble to take.
Absolutely. You take the risk, you go for it, see what happens. If it doesn't work, you just keep going. As you can see on your screen, Alex Bolger definitely now going to show what he's made of. And there goes Harvey Cohen. He's going to go down the inside into Stowe. Oh, wow. That's going to be bold and brave as they have to fight it through into Vale. And in goes the pits. It's going to be Alex Bolger. Where's he gone? Has he actually gone into the pits?
And Drake Dempsey.
Yeah.
Dempsey's in the pits as well for Haas.
Few people not trusting this
taking
tyre.
the same gamble. They saw what they saw what Marcus Towler did, and they think, you know what, maybe this is not that bad of a call. I'm not surprised Alex Bolger does it. I am surprised Drake Dempsey's doing it because he was in P6. He was in a very good situation there, or wasn't he even in P4? I think he may have been in P4.
Yeah.
That's 12 points that he may potentially have just thrown away. So, very surprising that. He's now 30 seconds behind the leaders. That's the time, and he was, in fact, in P4. That's the time you lose in the pit lane here. As I said, 27.5 seconds right around. If you get the optimal pit stop done, if you fail it a little bit, it's going to be 28, 29 seconds. Marcus Towler getting a penalty. Not the first one on the board, but the first one we mentioned to be on the board. So, my goodness, this is going to be a strategy battle. It's going to be a tire wear battle. And there's a massive gap now between Thomas Harvey in P3 and JST in P4. Will anyone else pit this lap? Let's see. Oh, yellow flag. That is Yerne Dovjan, who's around in Castle. And yes, Thomas Harvey goes in from P3, and Mark Schluter follows in. What is happening?
That is
there
critical.
Are drivers taking... I'm going to say this. There are drivers taking risks right now that, quite frankly, I think they shouldn't be taking.
But what information do they have that we don't know? That is the question. Yeah, of course. So critically, they know their tire wear. They know what they're capable of doing. Or is this going to be, so for particularly Thomas Harvey, is this to say to the front top two, right, I'm going to screw with your head massively because I'm not able to actually catch and overtake. Let's screw with your head. Come and join me down here. Because I think you are bluffing that your tires are good.
Yeah, but you're not going to say... You're not going to say, I'm going to screw with your head while you're potentially screwing with your own race. That's sort of the one thing that I think you're just not going to do. And so, it's I don't know. I think this may backfire spectacularly, or it may be the greatest call in the history of WOR. There is no in-between for Thomas Harvey here. From P3, while you're battling with the leaders, going in for new inters, dropping all the way down to P13 in this excruciatingly long pit lane. Willem Farrar stays out. Harlan Marquis stays out. I think they're going to try to make it to the end. Their heads are not getting screwed with right now. I think Thomas Harvey screwed himself. Yanni Dovjan around again. Down to P14 he goes. In Chapel once more. He's on the grass now. Oh my. Jeffrey Ritchie, the championship leader, now pitting. Maloney pitting. Fritzen pitting. They had nothing to lose. Here's the thing about Maloney and Fritzen. They had nothing to lose, right? They are at the back of this group anyway, of those that haven't pitted. So by pitting, they're not really losing much. They're almost out of the points anyway. Jeffrey Ritchie is a bit more surprising. Yanni Dovjan retires the car in the pit lane. I mean, it's all kicking off now, and I don't know what to think. I honestly think the drivers that are pitting for new inters, they're not taking the risk. They're not being bold enough here, and you lose so much time in the pit lane. I'd rather, thinking back to another Silverstone race where a driver suffered a puncture on the final lap, a certain Sir Lewis Hamilton that is, he still won that race. So you can have a puncture and potentially still finish the race and win it. So I don't understand why drivers would pit from a position as good as P3. Just sit behind them, save your tires, don't overdrive the car, and try to make it to the end while everyone else is maybe stressing out the tires a bit more. You have to risk it because 27.5 seconds is just such a massive gap. You see how Thomas Harvey has gained a second a lap. He's down to 26 to Farrar.
He's
That's
pushing.
a second a lap.
He's pushing it.
That
So-
would be, yeah, he is. But a second a lap is not going to cut it. Not even to Nelson Alves in P8. He's not even going to get him. That's how little a second a lap is with this long of a pit lane. So it makes absolutely no sense to me why Thomas Harvey did what he did. Farrar, Marquez, JST, Tom 97, Modesto Mina, Daniel Kelton, Harvey Cohen, and Nelson Alves. I think they all did the right thing. They stayed out. They risked it. And they're hopefully all going to the end. If they're pitting now, I'm telling you, it's going to be... I think we can safely call it a Ferrari strategy.
Definitely will be a Ferrari strategy for sure, but we all we have to do is just wait and see, because unless there is, as I said, unless there is something that we really do not know, then we are in for a very disappointing race for the likes of Thomas Harvey and Drake Dempsey. But we are still watching. I was going to say, we're still watching Harlan Marquez and Farah still go at each other. So they're still close to each other, still eyeing each other up. When they're going to pounce, that's going to be the question we're going to ask.
Yeah, apologies for trying to interrupt you there. I don't think there's anything we don't know. If there was some point where either the rain is going to stop or the rain is going to intensify, then they wouldn't pit. They'd be more likely to try to extend the tires to the very end. But the fact that they did pit tells me we're going to have this condition, this rain, until the end of the race, no doubt about it. So it can't be that. I don't know what else it can be. Maybe some drivers are experiencing a higher tire wear than others. I don't know. Generally, that's not much of a thing. Tire wear is pretty equal among drivers, especially at this kind of level. But yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything.
Yeah,
I can't think of anything that we don't know that they do. The ones that have pitted, that is. I can't think of anything other than, I don't know. I think it's just them being a bit scared, seeing the tire wear creep up over time, lap after lap, and thinking, oh no, it's going to go over 70%. I'm risking a puncture. Yes, you're risking a puncture, but by pitting, you're risking more than a puncture. You're risking not winning.
Absolutely.
Or not being in the top 3, not a podium.
Absolutely, and it is all so true. And while we're focusing on these people who have pitted, so from Thomas Harvey down, everybody has pitted for the second time. Modest Mina is pushing on to Tom 97. Yes, Tom 97, the amazing streamer that he is currently in P4, which I believe is his best finish position as of right now. But that Red Bull is looking punchy, and his teammate Harvey Cohen just overtook Daniel just a couple of corners ago. So both Red Bulls are finding pace and are looking to do something soon. Harlan Marquez up in second right now, also sticking to Ferrer and not really making any moves yet. I said it's possibly going to be to lap 24. We really see Harlan or any of the rest of the drivers make an attack, but I'm waiting for the first puncture. That is, if it really is tire wear, who's gonna puncture first then? That is my question. Yeah,
it could be anyone really. I think one of the leaders, one of the top 2, would be first, but maybe they're just keeping such good, taking such good care of their tires that maybe they're not going to be the ones. But obviously, the longer distance you have driven, the more your tires are going to be worn out. I mean, that's a Will Buxton level of analysis right there. No offense to the man, I appreciate him, but you remember the Netflix meme. That's what I'm referring to there. If you're starting in pole position, you have 19 other cars behind you. Yeah, exactly. That sort of level of analysis. But I don't know. when it, or if it happens, I should say, not when, if it happens, it will happen probably within the, literally within the last 2 or 3 laps. We won't see it yet. We won't see it this lap, lap 21 that just started. We are very unlikely to see it lap 22. 23 could be the first, but I think we're going to see it very late. 25 is my guess if we do see a puncture.
Okay.
I think it's actually more likely that if we see a puncture, we see it on lap 25 than that we see it on lap 26.
I'm going to take your word on that, but we were talking about that. I mentioned Harvey Cohen getting past Daniel about a lap ago now. He's already knocked off a second and is hunting down his teammate Modest Mina, who is stuck behind Tom 97. Probably lap 24, this battle for P4 and getting involved. You can see, he can see all line and sight of those 2 cars, and he is definitely punching himself to get up there, but he's got to put more work in, and that'll be interesting. A battle for P4.
Yeah, we might have an even more interesting battle for the lead here between Boilem Farah and Harlem Marquez. Question is, will it actually turn into a battle? Looking at the situation with their battery charge, I find it somewhat unlikely, as Boilem Farah has a 20% advantage over the Haas driver behind him. So if push comes to shove, he's got some extra energy to spare. He's got some extra energy to use and drive away with, as he might be doing. No, he hasn't done yet. In fact, his advantage has increased to 25% now.
Wow. That shows that Marquise is definitely trying to push to close the gap on Farah and do what he can, but clearly Farah is just driving that much better. And I said his driving style is very relaxed. You know, he's not pushing that car. You're not seeing that car wiggle in any shape or form. He's kept it smooth and sailing, and it's clear that he's got a natural flow to this car. Bit further back, Harvey Cohen, 1.2 seconds now. So he really is on the cusp of joining this battle for P4. And I said lap 23, he would be getting involved. Well, look at that. Look at the gap. It's so close now that Modest Mina really needs to get past Tom Martinez right now, so then he can protect himself from his teammate behind him, who just put himself, and through the S's, has massively put himself in contention to fight with this lot.
Yeah, he's really making some moves and some gains right now. Meanwhile, the gap up front is now over a second. Not that the 1 second gap really matters too much regarding, for example, DRS. That, of course, is disabled in the rain, but it is a psychological thing. You're constantly, as a driver, monitoring in the top left of your screen. You're constantly monitoring that gap to the car behind. I know this from experience. You're always looking at it. You're always going, okay, what's the gap now? What's the gap here? What's the gap there? Especially on the straights, you're always looking, always thinking, okay, have I increased the gap? Have I decreased the gap? What is going on? You're trying to stay on top of things, and seeing that over a second, as the car behind, it demotivates you. As the car in front, it motivates you. It makes you go, I'm doing the right things. I just need to keep hitting my markers. It makes you really zone in more. It makes you go literally, you know, just tunnel vision going, okay, I know what I have to do, and I'm going to pull this off. Whereas if you're the car behind, you're like, I'm doing something wrong. What is going on? Why am I losing time? And you're starting to question yourself. So, it really interesting. Once again, over a second there. Harlem Marquez will not like that. Boilem Farah will very much like that. And it's staying there now. There you go. It comes down because Harlem Marquez has been using some battery.
Wow.
And Boilem says, nope, I can use some battery too. Unbelievable what these two are doing. It is a battle that's a second away, but it's a psychological battle. I love seeing this. And that braking zone for Harlem Marquez was fantastic. and so was the exit of the corner. I think Harlem has the wet racing line down a little bit better because he gained a 10th there purely by cornering. There was no ERS involved in that.
Fair. I was watching Harvey Cohen, so I'm going to have to take your word on that. I'm still waiting for when Harvey Cohen makes a move. Then again, this is the battle for P4 that we were watching just a moment ago. But yeah, just looking at Harlem's driving style, now he's within that second mark. You know, his ERS is a bit lower than where he wants it to be, but this is the region. Lap 24 is phase 3. Now, you hear me talk about phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Now, there can be 2 phase 2s, phase 2A, phase 2B. These are moments in the race where the action happens. Phase 1 at the start, phase 2 at the pit stops, phase 3, the end of the race, and we are in that area. So we have to wait and see as Harlem Marquis is closer than he's ever been before. He needs to keep a very good line through Maggots, Beckett's, and then through Chapel as he heads onto the hangar straight. And then he needs to deploy that ERS at the right point to make a lunge into Stowe, but he is too far back to make a move just yet. So lap 25, you'll have to carry what he's done through to the next lap.
I tell you what, everyone behind Farah and Marquis has been gaining on them. JST, the gap was 4.5, it's now 3.8. Tom Martinez, the gap was 6.5, it's now 5.5. They've all been gaining. I think the top 2 are the ones struggling the most with tires here. Everyone behind them is still decently fine on that, but the top 2 are the ones struggling here. Will they get a puncture in these last 2 laps? Will the tires hold up, or will they fail them? That is what remains to be seen in those last really 3 minutes of racing that we are going to get here. This is crunch time. This is where it's at. This is where it's won or lost. And yeah, there is a there is a saying in Germany. It's all about the sausage. Obviously, as that's a German saying, but this isn't about the sausage. This is about the whole barbecue right here. This is about everything.
Absolutely.
And Britan Farah and Harlem Marquis are still holding on to those sides. Look at JST. That's another half a second that he's gained, that Tom 97 has gained, down from 5.5 to 4.9. They are struggling up in front. JST might come back into this.
It would be a very, very bold statement if JST gets in on the final lap. I don't think it will happen. Harvey Cohen is taking a break. He's saying, no, I'm done with this battle with P4, settling for P6 critically as we are heading through Vale and into Club. It is going to be the last lap of the British Grand Prix, set in the beautiful British weather. Thomas Harvey finally capitalizes on the fact he pitted for a second time as he takes P8, but still the strategy was not the way to go. Into Village we head, and it's 7/10 the gap between Harlem Marquis and Farah. And Farah has been running such a beautiful race that honestly he might hold this quite nicely, and Harlem is nowhere near close enough. He's not going to be able to make a lunge into Brooklands, and definitely not run it through Luffield. So the last place, realistically, this Hash driver has is into Stowe.
Yeah, but he's too far away. Look at the 6/10 right now. He doesn't have the battery charge. Bourlem Farah still has a 20 or 15% advantage. He's got 20%. Harlem Marquis has 5% left. So massive, massive advantages here on the ERS front. And the question is, will the tires hold up? I think for JST, they haven't. He's got a puncture.
No!
Harlem Marquis,
Oh, wow.
the rear left has gone.
Whoa, no. We said the puncture was going to be the critical moment. JST holding back critically now takes second place. And we're going to see Harlem dropped further and further back. He's going to lose loads of position. But a man who dominated from the start, took the lead of the race, brand new to Tier 2, Farah wins the British Grand Prix.
JST inherits a second place here, and Tom97 finally celebrates his first podium of the season, somehow holding off Modesto Mina and Harvey Cohen, who may have spun there towards the end. Don't know what happened with him, but he's down to P12 now.
Wow. That, we said punctures were going to happen, and poor, oh poor Marquise. That is not what you want to happen at all. And unfortunately, it happened to him. And I know his pain when you're running in such decent points, when you're running at the best position you can. You're going to walk home, you're going to get something good, and bam, the puncture comes the last lap. All because you just missed out. And then you drop down the field. But still, P5 is respectable for himself.
Yeah, can I just say, what a bad luck for Harlem Marquez, because I just asked him through a cheeky little text there, at what percentage his tire punctured. And puncture territory starts at 70, it becomes much more likely at 80, and his tire punctured exactly at 80. Oh. That's the earliest it has a higher likelihood of puncturing. And I mean, it can go to 90, 95 even before it punctures, but he got the worst of it exactly at 80%. And yeah, I mean, that's just bad. I mean, he's still, can I just say, I would vote him for driver of the day if I could, because he still held on to a P5.
Absolutely.
The puncture was just bad luck, but he still held on to 10 points in the championship from this. And he still, I think he remains P3 in the standings. That is remarkable from him there.
I just
want to make definitely worth the drive of the day for me.
Modest Mina started P19. He is P4.
Yeah.
The man deciding not to do the two-stop strategy claims himself a beautiful P4, and critically, that is a big, bold move from the Red Bull driver. And I've got to say, what brilliant work to get that position. And you know, he wasn't the fastest on the track. You can see his lap time at a 1:36.1, and I know some of those lap times were when we were in the dry, and you know, when the lap times are a lot easier.
Yeah, they were all in the dry. They were all in the dry.
But even so, like, he wasn't the fastest on track. He just used strategy to his advantage, and then held a very great position.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, this was a fantastic race. There are a couple reasons why Silverstone never disappoints. One is the track layout, but another, as you saw, is the weather. And the British weather always throws up crazy things that drivers just aren't prepared for, and they have to be really quick on their feet, thinking quickly, coming up with things on the go, and whoever can adapt the best usually does very well at Great Britain, and I think today that was Bourlem Farah.
Absolutely. Dominated from the get-go, got the launch he needed, and just went to win the race. Welcome to Tier 2. Clearly, you were meant for Tier 2. And the brilliant fight will continue next week, but with a little bit of spice, as we'll be having our second sprint race in Belgium. The longest track on the circuit, and especially the longest lap times. This is going to be very interesting, and even more chance of potential rain and wet weather racing. So I definitely look forward to that.
Yeah, you thought British weather was interesting? Wait for Belgian weather. That's going to be just as fun, if not more. But I'm always down for a good spa day, and if it involves the Belgian racetrack, even more so. So very much looking forward to that, and the sprint race as well. So we'll just get the full treat next week.
Oh, I am so ready for this. Absolutely. So stay tuned next week for more action. But if you are craving God knows how much action, then stay tuned for tomorrow. I think it's 8 o'clock, as we're going to have the Tier 1 Xbox League battling it out, trying to do what they can under, again, it will be Silverstone. Hopefully it's a bit more sunnier for them, because British weather is not great. But stay tuned for tomorrow if you want the Xbox Tier 1. Otherwise, stay tuned for next week, as my camera just died, for the action. Oh, hello, I'm back. For more action in Belgium. Badger, any last words from you?
I'm exhausted, and I think most of the drivers are as well, so let's just end it there.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely shattered from this race. I love a good race like this, but after that, you know, let's just calm down now, recharge for next week, and then we'll do it all again.
I'm with you. I'm done. I'm good. Let's go. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good night.